Well, fractional moves in the key equity indices with the Dow Jones Industrial Average and Russell barely closing lower, while S&P 500 and NASDAQ, they were up for the day. It's interesting because when we look at the market every day, the focus invariably is always on those biggest or fastest growing companies in America and abroad, of course. But they don't get to grow, and neither does our economy without the engine of small businesses. Underscoring that fact is job creation. Just this week, according to ADP, very small businesses, we're talking about those with just 1 to 49 employees, created 352,000 jobs through April. That's 37% of the total created in 2017, and it contrasts very favorably with larger businesses. And it's pretty clear, as you can see, that small business dreamers are a critical spark plug for the overall economy. And the amazing thing is, small businesses carry America without any clout in Washington, D.C., and consequently, very little help from regulators. Now, stepping up to the plate, of course, have been community banks, and their stocks have been moving sideways this year, but they made a huge post-election rally. These community banks are at the heart of the heartland, and I think will be a key component in making America great again. The First Trust Community Bank Index, the fund is up 31% in the past year. You can see that spike after the election has moved sideways since then, but I think now it's got more room to the upside. But the question is, could they use some help from the Fed and their policies, and also, of course, fewer regulations? Here to help me hash it out, Danielle DiMartino Booth. All right, listen, I'm looking at this stuff, and I'm feeling pretty good about what I'm seeing from small businesses, even very small businesses.
Yep, absolutely. Look, to corroborate the ADP data that came out earlier this week, we've seen some fresh data out of the National Federation of Independent Business that showed that tomorrow's payroll number could really have some upside to it. And again, this is being driven by the dreamers, as you said. These are small businesses. They're at the crux of our economy.
And yet they don't get a lot of help. You know, I had a debate the last 2 weeks with Dick Beauvais about Dodd-Frank, and bringing back some regulations to break up the banks. And it's my opinion that these big banks get to ignore Main Street America because they can. They've got these other businesses. You can trade commodities. You can do this stuff. You can do that. And so you don't have to take on the so-called risk of helping small-town America.
And that's a crying shame. There's a recent study that came out that showed that rural Americans have 40% less access than they had prior to Dodd-Frank to banking. How are you supposed to grow a company if you don't have access to a bank? I mean, all Dodd-Frank did was make the biggest banks bigger. But you're right. They don't have to serve small businesses.
We had the employment cost index out today, and it looked like we were starting to see the needle move on wages.
That's right.
Tomorrow, you think we'll see any signs of some real signs that wage growth is starting to happen? You know,
with initial jobless claims as low as they are, it's pretty apparent that employees are doing everything they can to keep their hands on their employees. And that means higher wages.
All right,
typically.
Danielle DiMartino Booth. And I love the dress, by the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.